We're live on YouTube. President Carey, you may begin the meeting.
Thank you, Solicitor. Welcome to the Borough of Clark Summit Council meeting, June 3rd, 2020. In attendance, we have Mr. Kelly.
Present.
Chief Yarns.
Present.
Mr. Cruciani.
Present.
Mr. Shields.
Present.
Mayor Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Jenkins.
Present.
Ms. Simrel.
Present.
And Ms. Kehoe.
Here.
Thank you. First item on our agenda is our moment of meditation. Our mayor will lead us in a moment of meditation, and then we're not going to have to stand for the flag because then we're all out of focus. So I'm going to hold the flag and we'll let the mayor proceed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
Flag of the United States of America,
And
And
to
to the
for
republic
the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and
and
justice for all.
for all.
Thank you very much.
Madam President,
Yes,
I just want to, for purposes of the record, indicate that the meeting tonight is being broadcast on Electric City TV's YouTube website, as well as its cable access channel, which is Comcast channels 19 and 61. Accordingly, this meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Sunshine Act and Senate Bill 841. Thank you, Madam President.
thank you very much. First item on our agenda is the approval of our agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, Mr. Jenkins, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Shields, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Favors have it 6-0. The next item on our agenda is the minutes of our May 6th. Our May 6th, 2020 council regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Do we have a second?
I'll
second the motion. You got it, Kathleen.
Kathleen, just a second.
Kathleen, you seconded. Thank you. All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Favors have it 6-0. Next item on our agenda is our public comment or input, and we don't have anyone who wants to address council that we're aware of. So our next item is our police report. You have your police report in front of you. Does anybody have any questions for our chief or our mayor?
I would like to note that, we're doing a buckle up grant. We're kind of in the middle of it now. It was off to a slow start. A lot of it has to do with the virus and a lot of issues with that. We did get a substantial size grant for the aggressive driving, which starts, I believe, July 6th, and it runs into the end of August. We get that every year. It's a summer grant.
Great.
Typically, we get $1,700. This year, we got $3,800,
Oh, good.
which is a lot of money. I think the reason why is speaking with John Morgan, who's in charge of this from Traffic Safety Highway. He explained that a lot of departments haven't used the money or the monies earlier, like the buckle up monies, because of the virus and different issues in that. The traffic had been light in the beginning of March and April, or actually beginning of April rather. So just enforcement wasn't there.
Well, that's awfully, good news to hear, for the borough to hear. Thank you very much, Dave, for your good work on that.
We are stepping up the enforcement. We about a week and a half, 2 weeks now, we've been doing the enforcement of the, picking up enforcement because of traffic's picked up and we're starting to get complaints. I did post out the 2 speed sentries that we purchased last year. One's in Clark's Green on Highland Avenue near Burkett Street currently, and the other one's over on Knapp Road. I intend on moving them on Friday to different locations. One being, I believe, either on Winona Road eastbound, rather westbound, and South Abington Road near Armstrong. That's my intentions, unless something changes.
If
And,
I'm gonna give you a call tomorrow. I've noticed the tractor trailer traffic coming through town with a couple of specific companies. I believe they're coming from Charmin. However, one of the companies who I've noticed seems to be a prevalent violator, and I'm only going on guesstimates because I don't know the actual speeds that they're going coming through town, but they're really moving pretty good. But one of them is Camel Trucking, and I believe that Camel Trucking was involved in the fatality accident up on Interstate 81 with Dave Dutchnick's son and the tow truck. And I've noticed them coming through town. They're really picking up their speeds coming through town because the cars aren't parked on the side of the road anymore. You know, with the virus and the amount of people that are not coming out. And I think we really need to pay attention to the truck traffic because some of them are really flying through town. And the intersection at State and Grove, they seem to be everybody's staying in that left lane, not the turn lane, but the left lane, and then they try to squeeze as they're going around the turn there by OK Tire. And,
yeah,
and
that's always been a
I know it's a tough thing to try to do, but I think we really gotta put a face out there so that they see that the cars are out there. And if we need to ticket a couple of them to get the point across, I really feel that it needs to be done. Either that or call PSP and have PSP come up with the state car and have them do the weights. Since we still don't have anybody yet that's doing the weights.
No, we do have people now. We trained them.
Oh, we do have them on the scales?
Yes, Officer Deming as well as Officer Williams.
Okay.
The state in March, late March and April waived a lot of weight restrictions and other issues.
Right. Yeah, I know.
So they kind of hamstrung us on enforcement, as far as the truck is, there wasn't much left.
Okay.
So they were discouraging us doing a contact with the driver, with the weight stuff. Now
Sure.
that's since changed. So
Okay.
I did speak ironically today to Officer Deming, who was in our office late this afternoon, and Officer Williams, and we're gonna start doing the weights again.
Very
So
good.
hopefully
That's great news. That's great news.
a lot of the truck traffic you're referring to when they take the corner by OK Tire, they have that trailer. It's long and it's hard for them. The road's narrow, and they tendency to encroach over on the lane, the other traffic lane. Now, I have noticed at times they don't have their wheels back. They're only allowed 41 feet.
Yep.
I can't get 41 feet past the kingpin, and any officer can cite for that. So it's a $300 fine.
Okay.
For not. Usually they're coming the other way from Charmin when they do that.
Yeah.
Because they put the wheels on the back when they load up, and then they get lazy and they don't put their wheels back forward.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that the best we can.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief.
Also, I think I shared an email that I received from the Cops Fast grant, and as you can probably see, we were denied. There was only 5 departments in the state that got approved. And
I was going to bring that up later under grants. But go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Go right ahead.
But anyway, it looks like only 5 got approved. I know Scranton applied. A lot of people around here, I know Tunkhannock applied, but nobody in our area got it. And here's one was Hazelton and Berwick, I believe.
Yep.
I can't answer that question why that happened that way.
Yeah. Alrighty. Okay, well, thank you. Hey, as I said, when you talked to me originally about it, I said, we have nothing to lose by applying for it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if we get it, it's a feather in our cap. We have nothing to lose by it, but thanks for that report, and thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any other questions for our chief before the mayor may want to dismiss him?
If there's no other questions, Madam President, I would like to see the chief be dismissed.
Okay. Thank you, chief, for being part of this. We appreciate all your good hard work and may it continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Thanks, Joe.
See you, Chris.
All right, thank you, bye.
Our next item on our agenda is our bids and quotes.
Yes, we have our paving bids that came in last week. We received 4 bids, M&J Excavation, Waco, Pikes Creek, and Pensy Supply. You guys all have a copy of the bid opening form. The low bid came in from Pensy Supply for $354,440. The engineer did review the bid and it does meet our minimum bid requirements. So he's recommending that we approve that bid. And I did also include a page in your packet that shows what we had forecasted. And this was actually last fall for the paving bid and it came out to 348. So we were within 6,000. The engineers were within 6,000 of the actual cost. So it came in pretty good.
Good.
And thus far, I think we can do it. The money's available to make that bid. So
Is there any Virginia, is there any timeline on this as of right now?
once we award, so
Okay.
assuming we award tonight, I'll
Okay,
send out the award tomorrow. They will have to get in their bonds. When I receive their bonds, then we give them the notice to proceed and they have 90 days.
okay,
So it's probably going to be early July would be the notice to proceed. July, August, September, so they'd have through the end of September.
okay.
Can
All right.
you
Yeah.
reiterate who the low bidder was?
I'm sorry?
Iterate who the low bidder was one more
The
time?
low bid was Pensy Supply from Pittston at $354,440.
Am I out of line making that a motion that we approve that now? Mr. Solicitor?
No, there's no, you want to make a motion to approve it?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion at this time that we approve the bid for paving for 2020 for Pensy Supply for $354,440.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Madam President, on the question,
On the
Councilman
question.
Cruciani, I am currently in a business engagement with my job, albeit a small one with Pensy Supply, so I will be abstaining from this vote.
Okay, thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Favors have it 5 and
501.
right.
Virginia, could I just ask a question out of curiosity?
Sure.
You remember when we brought up about bidding there, and I said, well, because of the reduced prices of petroleum and oil and such, was there very low prices for like the blacktop and stuff as a result of that?
You know what? I'd have to check with the engineer and I will get back to you on that. I don't know. I didn't look,
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
just
check out the
curious.
breakout. Yeah, the
Just curious.
contractors did tell us that they expected that to be lower. But since the whole bid came in about what expected, then obviously
Yeah.
something was higher if that's the case.
Yeah, just curious.
Okay,
That's all.
Virginia, if it does happen to come in lower, maybe we could add a couple more streets on there to
Well, we're within we're 6,000 in the red, Dave,
yeah.
and I would
Yeah,
get into this on the insurance. Madam President, I'll briefly comment on it now, if I may, it plays in.
sure.
We did get a $55,589.32 rebate since
Yep.
we've handled all of our debt situation with the borough responsibly over the last couple years. And with the COVID situation where there are estimates of a shortfall on the, at least on the income side. I think we do have the $6,000 available this year to not have to cut a street, and I think we can handle it through, because of the rebate, through the general fund. That's my opinion on the situation, at least.
Okay, but what I was saying along with the suggestion from Councilman Kelly was that if we do get a reduced rate with the initial contract that we have, maybe we could add one or two more streets.
I don't think we will, though. I don't think we will, and I'll tell you why. Because the bid isn't going to line item materials in a way that's not grouped to the square footage, and for as much business as for the amount, you got to remember, for the amount of materials, if you're looking in terms of reducing the expenditure, for the small amount of material amount that Pensy might have a lower cost on, there's probably COVID-related business losses that far exceed that.
Okay, all right.
You know, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if I was a contractor and I put in a bid, my bid was time and material on a cubic basis.
Yes.
Of lay of the street. It's not a breakout on the material. It's a cubic foot total bid. I think Bob Nagley would agree that's how the bid's written. And Kevin, I would say with your contractual experience, you probably would agree or disagree with that.
I agree with that.
Okay.
All right, and also my question for the timeline was the fact that I don't know how many other people have been going up and down the turnpike, but Pensy has got a really big paving contract with the Turnpike Commission where they're paving down in the Whitehaven area. So I don't know how our timeline is going to impact that situation.
They are completely aware of the timeline. They were aware of it before they bid.
Good.
And they were notified, they know that they're the low bidder, so they know what the time frame is as well right now.
Okay.
Put it into context.
We will stay on them.
Thank you.
Pensy's a multi-billion-dollar company, so they have no excuse not to meet the timeline.
Vince, they always have an excuse.
And we have retention, I believe, built into the contract, Dave, to address that. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but as we will.
Yeah, we've learned our lessons from the past. Yeah, thank you, Vince.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the treasurer report. We have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it, 6-0. The next item is our vendor payments to be ratified. Do we have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Simrell. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Who seconded it?
I think Councilman Kelly.
Harry.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it, 6-0. Under old business, we have our Sheridan Avenue sale, and I'll let our solicitor lead us off on that.
Thank you, Madam President. We have some good news in this, what's been a long process, but it was a difficult process because of different issues with the title of the property. But long story short is Judge Nealon entered an order on Monday entering a default judgment on the action to quiet title. So Clark Summit now has free, clear, and marketable title to the Sheridan Avenue field, and we're positioned to close on the transaction which council approved last year relating to the acquisition by Abington Development Group. With their president is Michael Noto. The last authorization that was issued by council allowed the closing to extend until today, which is June 3rd, 2020. I received correspondence today from developers council, who indicated that he believes we would close within either Friday or Monday. There's some variables that are involved in that make it a little bit more difficult because of the COVID-19 situation. So I would request authorization from council to allow us to an extension to close and one final extension to our June work session, which would be June 24, 2020. I have every confidence that we'll close by then. We have the order. I circulated the order earlier this week, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions that members of council or the mayor have.
Kevin, how much of a time frame are you looking for an extension?
Until June 24, 2020, there'll be our work session, just in case there was another unforeseen situation came up between now
Kevin.
and.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we give Solicitor Hayes the latitude for a extension to no longer than June 30th, 2020 to complete the deal for our property at Sheridan Avenue.
Dave, I don't want to be rude, but now is the time for me to intervene and say this. I really think, in case we have no other issue other than that, so we don't have to reconvene and publish, or do we want to just make it July's voting meeting? That's what I'm trying to say. Does it make any sense? It just.
Oh, I'm okay with that if Kevin's okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know, so that would be.
I will make it
July 1.
1st.
I will
July
retract
1st.
that, and I will make it July 1st at our regularly scheduled council meeting. The extension up until that point.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Madam President.
Mr. Cruciani, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it 6-0. Thank you, Kevin. Next item on our agenda is our EMA compensation. We have Artie Franks, who is our EMA director, and he's been doing an excellent job. And I just feel what council's opinion would be as far as compensation for him.
Madam President, this is the mayor.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that what Councilman Cruciani stated a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago rather, that we probably give them the same amount that we give our council people.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor on a monthly basis, just like with council.
Correct.
Okay. I certainly think that Art Franks certainly does deserve compensation. He goes above and beyond. He jumps into a lot of our parks. He's doing work there. So if someone would like to make a motion for us to compensate our EMA director with the same stipend that the council gets.
Madam President, I make a motion to compensate our EMA director with the $2,500 per annual stipend for the year retroactive June 1, 2020 until May 31, 2021. And then we can address it after that year instead of having an open indefinite motion.
Okay.
That's the way to do it at this time, personally.
Perfect.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, but I think, Vince, you need to add to it on a monthly basis.
Yeah, paid out, yes. Thank you, Dave. I amend my motion. I make a motion to pay retroactive June 1. Virginia, will that cause an issue with payroll if we start at June 1, or
No.
will it better to do it in July 1?
No, there's no problem.
Okay, June 1,
as long as I get the
20.
paperwork from him, we can do it.
Okay, June 1, 2020 to May 31, 2021, paid on a monthly basis.
I'll second that motion.
an employee. As an employee, not as a contractor.
Right.
I will second that motion.
Okay, on the question?
Well, why is an employee, Councilman Cruciani?
Because that's fair, Kevin. Do you think he's taking a subcontractor role where we should make him responsible for withholding and stuff, or is he accountable to the directives of the borough? If he's accountable to our directives, he should be an employee. If he's not accountable directly to the borough, then he should be a contractor. So that would be it.
Not only that, he should fall under the umbrella for workman's compensation too, because he'll be going out there in all the elements, exposing himself to whatever the elements are, such as the situation with the police and the fire department. So he should be under that umbrella for coverage.
I think he probably is covered by, and I mean, I'm not going to, but my suggestion would that he be an independent contractor because he does work at the direction of the state coordinator and the
That's true too.
and the
yeah.
county coordinator. Correct, Mayor?
Correct.
So ultimately, we don't have ultimate authority over him.
That's a good point then, Kevin. Let me remake my motion. I'm going to rescind my motion. Make a motion that the EMA director be paid $2,500 a year, June 1, 2020 through May 31, 2021, paid on a monthly basis as a subcontractor. That's my motion. Now my quick comment, Virginia, so Artie or whoever's in the position doesn't get burned on taxes, please let them know when they get the full amount in their check, they're going to be responsible for their quarterly withholdings.
Absolutely.
So they'll get a 1099 out of W-2.
Right.
It would be an
That's
independent
what it'll be, a
contractor.
1099. Yep.
Okay, no
Okay,
problem.
I will second that revised motion.
Okay, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it 6-0. Thank you. The next issue on our agenda is our Carroll Drive, the dirt road. Can you address this for us,
Well,
Virginia?
we were talking with the residents on Carroll Drive about applying for a grant, and we had discussed with Bob Nagley the cost of bringing it up to code as a dirt road. One of the things that you asked me to do at the April meeting was to reach out to PP&L and ask them if it was still a possibility that they would give us the road. I have literally not gotten a response from them. Alana Roberts, their PR person, has acknowledged my attempts to get an answer, but she's indicated that the Chad Huber is the person I need to speak to, and he has not acknowledged any email yet or phone call.
I'll tell you what, speaking as a former resident up there, I really think, number one, it's going to be a hot potato for us. I think it's a white elephant, number two. And I think the best situation that we're in is the current situation that we're in, where we're out of it altogether. And I just have bad feelings about this, that it's going to blow back on us, and we're going to end up to be more responsible for a lot more than what we bargained for. We're out here, we're trying to do, and I understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to do the neighbors a favor. However, just from what Virginia just said, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of cooperation both ways. There was in the beginning where the gentleman came and he stated his spiel, and he told us what their intentions were, but we haven't heard another comment from them since. And I think it's going to blow back on us. I think we ought to just back right out of it, and I think it's going to be a lot better off for the residents and for the taxpayers. Excuse me, the taxpayers in the town.
Does anybody else have any comments as far as what direction you feel we should be moving with the Carroll Drive? And Virginia, if you're not getting any response from PPNL, evidently they want to wash their hands in it as far as we're concerned. They've already
Absolutely.
set everything up. They've got their gates. And if PPNL doesn't want to work with us, then there's nothing really we can do. Right?
Well, really, Jerry, our hands are tied, because they had their legal
Exactly,
department,
yeah.
they had their legal department approach us months ago and gave us the opportunity, and we turned it down and we said no, that we weren't interested. Really, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the end of the story,
Okay. All right, I think that as far as that goes, solicitor, is there any recommendation you would have on that? Or
Well, on December, I think it was about December 10, Virginia and I met with representatives from PennDOT. And at that, there was a number of issues we reviewed, but one of them was Carroll Drive. And what they reported to us at that time was that Clarkson would only need to pave the first 30 feet of it as it connects to Grove Street, and that the remainder of it could be a dirt road. And I think they indicated that we would have to go through an HOP permit process, which would take about 90 days, and that there was one potential tree located at the intersection which may have to be removed. It's up to the, we had that meeting to raise that issue because there was members of the community that showed up at the meeting, and the council directed us to reach out to PennDOT. So we did. I mean, it's really up to the council as to how you would like for us. Virginia and I both have had not much success in getting a response from the individual who we were directed to, who's in charge of this process. But if you want us to continue to pursue this on behalf of the neighbors, we can do that. But it's up to council, really.
I think Virginia has been pretty diligent with trying to work with PPNL. I think our hands are tied. If they're not going to budge on it, there's nothing we can do.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to put this to bed, or do we just leave it go?
Just leave it. You can leave it go.
Just let it go.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next item on our agenda is our CDBG, Justin from LA City.
Justin from LA County, from Lackawanna County.
Right.
He's the CDBG representative. He sent this letter. He had intended to come to our March work session, and of course that got canceled.
Right.
Ultimately, he asked that the that the letter that I gave everyone a copy of just be discussed tonight, recognizing the fact that we need to have a decision on how we'd want to spend this year's money by Friday, June 26th. So that was the purpose of the letter, to get us working on how do we want to spend CDBG money this year.
Okay. Is there anyone that has any suggestions? I mean, as far as where you feel you'd like to direct some of this funding to go? Virginia, is there any that you had in mind that?
I'm actually drawing a blank right now. I felt like I had come up with some ideas and I can't recall what they are, but I can shoot an email out and we can discuss this at our work session. Okay, and that'll give people some time to think about it.
That gives us plenty of time, and we can, would be ready to do the report then on the 26th, right?
24th.
24th, okay. And the next item on our agenda is the late fees, the mailing for sewer delinquents.
Yeah, I gave everybody a copy of Jen's sewer report. If you recall, we made a motion to waive all late fees and any delinquent mailings through until June. Well, we're in June now. So we need to know, Jen needs to know, does she start doing a mailing? Does she start doing late fees, or where do we want to go from here?
Well, as we sit right now, we are still in the red zone as far as the state goes.
I'll be quite honest. I think we ought to maybe leave it go till September, unless somebody strenuously objects.
I only had.
I don't think the situation is gonna be 100% clear until probably September, maybe even later, but I think it would be in our best interest to maybe waive the charges until September. And then,
I think Councilman Jenkins is right.
Yeah, I do too.
I agree.
This is
Is there
Mayor
a motion?
Johnson. This is Mayor Johnson. I agree with Councilman Jenkins on that. We don't know what's gonna happen when we move over to the yellow. If there's more people coming out, and we might find out that we might be carrying something and spreading it.
I will make a motion at this time that we continue our process the way we have until our September meeting.
Okay.
And at which time we can further decide what direction we're going.
Could be addressed then, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Jennifer, is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds fine with me. I have only had one resident call and say that he was in a situation where he hadn't received his unemployment yet. And I
Okay,
just told him, do your best. And he did. He paid it off. I'm not seeing a big problem right now. So
Yeah. Well, we
it's
That's
great.
good.
we have to be in a situation too, Jen, where we can say, look, you got a waiver until September. So
I think it's a great idea to waive the late fees.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
do
I think it's a
too.
great idea. Let
All right.
everybody kind of catch up because they're still going to receive their quarterly bills. They're still
That's
going to have
right.
all the information coming to them, just no delinquent notice. So yeah, that's fine with me. I think it's good.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm so sorry. That was a Dave, and who was the second on
We
there?
didn't get a second yet.
Harry.
Why?
I thought it was
Well, we
Gary
didn't.
Kelly.
Harry
Oh, I
second.
made a comment. I didn't second, but I will
Yeah.
though.
Well, step up,
Okay.
Harry, second it.
Thank you, Harry.
Well, there you go.
Alright.
Seconded. There we are.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harry.
Next item on
Thank you,
our
sir.
agenda is the replacement for Councilman Williams's seat. We did our interviews prior to our meeting, and I'm gonna turn this over to our solicitor. He'll give us direction on it.
Sure. Well, I think before the council president begins entertaining nominations for the position of councilman, are there any members of council who would like to offer any comments regarding the interviews and the candidates who have submitted their names for consideration?
I have a process question, Kevin.
Sure.
When the nomination is made, but prior to the vote, when we get to that point, or I guess as council people after the vote, we can make a comment one way or the other if we want at that point, right?
We could, yeah. I thought that
Okay.
it'd be efficient
Thank you.
for purposes of debate and deliberation to have comments offered now before the nominations are offered.
I'd like to make a comment if I may. I believe that all 8 of the applicants were outstanding. I'm really impressed that we had so many people who are willing to go out there,
Absolutely.
put themselves out there and want to be part of the borough. Unfortunately, we can only have one new council person. So I would ask maybe Virginia if anything comes available or any sort of boards or anything, that she would keep the resumes of the 7 other people and look to them as people who could help our community and council.
Very good suggestion. Yeah.
An excellent suggestion. Thank you.
So Bob, that actually kind of segues what you brought up into my thought, that the one item I wanted to share was that I thought applicant Harry Jenkins is excellent. My only concern about him being on council is that we lose an excellent person in his particular role on the very important managerial aspects of ARWA. And that's probably the biggest compliment I could give to him in my consideration of his application, is that I think he's immensely qualified. My concern is losing him on ARWA should we appoint him. And that's of all the applicants, when I looked at them, I saw many qualities from all of them that we could gain, and I just don't want to lose other service we have in the borough. If he ran, I'd vote for him in a second. But with his position on ARWA, that is my one concern if he is appointed, is that we'd lose outstanding service in such a critical infrastructure position.
Thank you, Vince.
Are there any other comments by members of council or the mayor? Okay, hearing none, Madam President, you may now announce that you're entertaining nominations. Go ahead.
Okay, I would like to make would any member of council like to make a nomination for replacement for the council seat?
Yes, ma'am. Madam
I
President,
would.
I would like to make a nomination of Robert Bennett for the position to replace Councilman Patrick Williams. I
Thank
think
you.
Councilman Williams brings with him experience. I think he brings with him committee experience as well as negotiation experience. And he was the next highest vote getter as far as the election went. And past precedent would deem him the next person in line. So I would like to make Mr. Bennett's nomination in progress here.
Okay, thank you. Do we have another nomination?
Yes, I'd like to nominate.
I think Harry got cut
Oh,
off.
did Harry?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whose turn is it? I don't even know.
Go ahead, Harry. It's your turn, Harry.
Okay,
Go ahead.
no, I want to submit the name of Joan Davis for consideration.
Thank you.
Joan Davis.
Joan Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have another motion?
Yes. I'd like to nominate Josh Mitchell.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Sure.
Do we have another nomination? Okay, so we have three
The
nominations.
nominations are closed. Just for purposes of, Madam President, if it's okay with you, I think for purposes of clarity and the number of because the importance of the vote, and then a number of the council members are participating by telephone, we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay,
Okay, so the first nominee was Mr. Robert Bennett. I'm going to do a roll call vote. So the question before council is, it'll be all those in favor indicate by saying yay. All those against indicate by saying nay. It's the nomination of Robert Bennett. Mrs. Simrall. Kathleen, yes or no?
Nay.
I'm Bob Bennett.
Nay.
Nay. Mr. Shields,
Yay.
Mr. Cruciani,
Yay.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yay.
Mr. Kelly,
Yay.
Mrs. Carey.
nay.
Okay, we have a 3-3 tie. So Mayor Johnson can serve as a tiebreaker if he wishes to. Mayor Johnson, do you wish to cast a vote on this nomination?
Nay.
Okay, so the motion fails. The next nominee is for the position was Mrs. Joan Davis. Again, it'll be done by roll call. Mrs. Simrall,
Nay.
Mr. Shields,
Nay.
Mr. Cruciani,
Nay.
Mr. Jenkins,
Nay.
Mr. Kelly,
Yay.
Mrs. Carey,
Nay.
Mr. Johnson. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Mr. Johnson's not necessary. The motion fails 1-5. Okay, so the first nomination of Mr. Bennett failed by a vote of 3-4. The second nomination of Mrs. Joan Davis failed by a vote of 1-5. The third nominee was Mr. Josh Mitchell. On the question of the nominee of Mr. Josh Mitchell, Mrs. Simrall,
Yay.
Mr. Shields,
Yay.
Mr. Cruciani,
Yes, yay.
Mr. Jenkins,
Nay.
Mr. Kelly,
Yay.
Mrs. Carey.
Yay.
Okay. The yeas have it by a vote of 5-1. That nominee passes, and Mr. Josh Mitchell is duly appointed as a member of council. Mr. Mitchell will have to be sworn in later this week. I can make arrangements with him to have that done. He'll sit for our next, I guess if we have a work session or a special meeting in June. Otherwise, his first public meeting would be the July meeting.
Kevin,
Yes.
in Virginia, just as a matter of clarification, he has to sign that one form that's notarized
Right.
to make sure that he resides in the borough. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yes. So
I just didn't want that to go through.
right, that he, number one, is a duly elected resident
Absolutely.
of the borough for at least 1 year.
Is
In
he
office.
still with us? Is he still with us, Kevin, or no?
No, it's
Oh,
closed.
you can't tell.
Well, no,
Yeah.
no.
He might be watching, but he's not part of the
Oh,
discussion.
okay, all right.
Actually, Solicitor Hayes, I think Mr. Mitchell's on the rec board. Is he affected anyway by being on council on the rec board at the same time, or is that okay?
Because there's no compensation involved with the rec board, as far as I know. I don't believe there is. He probably would have to abstain from issues related to the rec board.
Yeah.
But I can circulate a memo on that this week. I don't believe I don't believe.
And I do believe, Kevin, that we did have in the past, other members of council that were.
Pat
on
Williams.
the board. Pat Williams was at one point.
Yes.
And,
because
And the
there's no
rec board has no unlike ARWA, which can assess us a fee
right.
and I think enforce it in the courts. Technically, and we learned this with Clark's Green, technically the best the rec board could do in a disagreement with us and Clark's Green is a lien on our interest in the property.
Right.
So in that regard, he can't tax himself.
Right. So, well, I mean, and then when there's issues of my instinct, Mr. Shields, is that he can serve duly. In the event that there was an issue that involved the rec board, like for instance, the senior center issues, then maybe he would have to recuse himself. But
Right.
I don't believe that's an issue. But I'll
Yeah.
investigate it for you.
Sounds good to me. A case by case basis.
I mean,
Madam President, if we can have Virginia send out letters of thank you to the other people who applied and who sat for the interview tonight with the council's thanks, and congratulations to Mr. Mitchell also.
okay.
You got it.
And I also want to thank everyone that put their resumes in, all very, very good qualified people. And next year, when we're looking for candidates to run, we hope that they'll get on the ballot and go along with us. So,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they were an
And
impressive group.
I would like to make this.
excellent to just come forward and, and also there's other opportunities in the borough that they could work with Virginia with and be helpful and really get a taste of how the borough is actually run and what makes it tick. So we'd be more than happy to have them come on board for, we have a lot of committees that they might be very helpful with. So, but thank
Madam
you.
President,
Thank you.
just to echo some of your thoughts, in some regards and elaborate a little of mine, I really admired Mr. Mitchell's commitment to refreshing himself on the issues by reading the minutes. And I recommend that anybody who runs for council realize that it's not a broad-based ideological endeavor. It's a policy-driven, dollars and cents operating a small municipality, and
Oh, absolutely.
do a service to the citizens if you're going to run. And for all those, I encourage to put their name in to run, or anyone else, to
Sure.
familiarize themselves with what they're getting into, because the newspaper doesn't have the ability to cover it to that extent necessary to just be informed by reading the newspaper. And quite frankly, we're not important enough of an entity to have heavy coverage, news or TV. So it really informing themselves, reading the minutes, coming to the Borough Council meetings provides better ability for those candidates to articulate addressing the problems that they see being done, and supporting the causes they see being done correctly. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And also, we don't have our Abington Suburban anymore, so that's going to be a loss of a lot of our borough information getting out to the community. So at any rate, anything that the Times can do to help us out, we appreciate that too. So thank you all for participating in this. I know that getting 8 people to want to step into council was a real compliment to Clark Summit Borough. Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the resolution 2020-09 to waive the late fees for property tax payments after June 30th.
I'll make that a motion, Madam President.
Okay. Go ahead.
You make the motion to waive the late fees, right?
Yes, to waive the late fees.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. On the question,
On the question, Madam President, just by way of background, on April 20th, Governor Wolf signed Act 15 of 2020 into law, which permitted the governing bodies to waive late fees associated with property taxes. So that Act 15 authorized this resolution, which Virginia and I worked on, and would allow property taxes to be paid up to December 31, 2020 without a late penalty fee.
Does this mirrors the county's tax, what they're doing too?
I think it's similar to that, correct?
okay. Okay, do we have a second?
No, we have a
We
second.
did, Kathleen.
Down the vote.
Okay, on the question,
I have on the question.
oh, go ahead.
I do have on the question. What's
Sure.
the last business day of this year? What day? The 21st, 31st is what, a Wednesday or a?
Hang on.
31st is a Thursday.
Make sure the 31st falls out of business.
It's a Thursday. 31st is a
Okay,
Thursday.
then I'm all right with it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Favors have it 6-0. Thank you. The next item is our ordinance 2020-03, our flood plan ordinance. Advertised for the public meeting on
Well,
this.
what we're asking, what Kevin and I have been working on this for a while now. As you may be aware, FEMA has updated the flood maps in our area. They have required us to update our floodplain ordinance to reflect the changes. They have supplied a consultant to prepare a draft ordinance for us, to which Kevin was able to make some adjustments. And the final document is in front of you. We need to adopt that by August 5th, or if we have a flood and a resident applies for FEMA help, they won't get it. So I'm asking permission to advertise this ordinance and put it on the agenda for a public hearing and a vote in July.
I'll make that a motion.
Okay,
Yeah,
do we have a
sounds good.
second?
I'll second that.
That was
Okay.
Harry?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
just making
Okay,
sure.
on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Favors have it 6-0. Thank you. Next is our solicitors report.
Madam President, there's a few items I just want to review with council. One of those is the resolution number 2020 of 2020 number 7, which was the resolution which ratified the mayor's declaration of a disaster emergency. Pursuant to that resolution, the declaration expired today. In conversations I've had, at least with the borough manager,
Right.
we haven't had to invoke anything, any of the authority that was granted in this resolution during the last 10 weeks while this pandemic was in place. I'm generally not in favor of passing resolutions just to pass them, unless there is anybody thinks differently. I think we could just let this expire. We're under the governor's emergency declaration. We are under the county's emergency declaration. I don't see any need to extend this unless anybody, the mayor, unless you feel otherwise that this is necessary right now.
Yeah, that was my question. I thought the mayor, as far as under our state of emergency, does this have an effect on our FEMA? Should anything develop between now and, or should we renew it, do you feel?
If we need to, we can always reinstate it. Isn't that correct, Kevin?
That's correct.
Okay. Then at this point in time, I'll make a motion that.
We don't.
Excuse me.
Well,
I just wanted to know what the mayor.
Madam President,
or EMA.
Madam President, you had a question for me.
Yes.
And my suggestion would be is to let it expire, and then we'll reinstate it if we need to.
Okay.
And here's the thing that's important to note is that the mayor at his discretion can declare an emergency without the approval of council. Council has to ratify it within 7 days. So in other words, if the mayor deems that there's a situation that requires an emergency declaration, he can do that. And then council ratifies it. So if something comes up and they need immediate relief, the mayor has the authority to do that, to craft a resolution, a declaration like he did back in April.
Okay, well then
March,
that's exactly how we'll let that stand then, Kevin, as far as.
And then just other than that, I know that there was an issue that the council had raised with regard to a repository sale of a property on Winola Road.
Right.
Members of council had raised concerns that the purchaser was fully aware of all issues related to water infiltration and that they would not pursue any action against council. So I got a release signed by that prospective purchaser, which basically indicates that in exchange for us authorizing the repository sale, she's fully aware of the situation and won't seek any action against us related to water.
Okay.
And then I just have been working on some easements and with Virginia and Bob Negley so there could be some sewer repairs and storm restoration work.
Okay.
And I think that's it.
We've really kept you awfully busy. You've done a great job. You've jumped in you've been a big help in a lot of situations we put you in, and you've really been a big help to all of council. Thank you again.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on our agenda is our correspondence. We had a request from Pat Williams.
Right, I forwarded that information to everyone. It was with regard to the selection of a candidate. We've already made our selection, so, and everybody had seen the email, so I think that's been addressed.
Okay, and the next one is a request from Anthony Graziano.
Yeah, you all have a copy of.
Yeah, we all have a copy of that, and
right.
His suggestion is it should go on the volume of water you use versus one standard fee. And we've had this brought up to council many times, and we've always gone back to the fact that it's one flat rate. And Jennifer, is there any information that you might be able to give to Mr. Graziano?
Really, there really isn't. It, like you said, it just comes up once in a while. It's
Right.
usually, maybe somebody that has different houses in different locations and they pay less somewhere. Some people pay a lot more than we do. So, it's just, like I said, it just comes up once in a while and people are surprised sometimes that it's not based on usage, but it's not.
Right.
But, like I said, it just comes up once in a while. And it came up and this is what, we recommend that he does is talk to council, write a
Yeah.
letter and give a suggestion, and
Right.
we take it from there, or you
We
take it.
tell them that this is the way it is and this is why it is, that we cannot make any changes to it. Council's the only one. And we don't
Right.
insinuate in any way, shape or form that you guys are going to change anything, but
Right.
you don't know how people feel if they don't tell you. And that's, so we always say, write your opinion down and send it in.
Yep.
And that's what he did.
Exactly. Okay, well, thank you. Then that should take care of that.
I'll respond to him.
Okay, Kevin, we're not going to need an executive
Well,
session?
I think we are. If you want to, I understand that there's a proposed collective bargaining agreement with the police union.
Okay,
I don't know if the members of that committee want to brief the other members of council on that, but that would be qualified for an executive session. Now, if there's something that needs to be taken up, and
okay.
I understand that you would like for it to be considered at the work session, correct?
Exactly.
All right, so
exactly.
if that's the case, what we will do is we'll recess, and then we'll recess to executive session. We'll reconvene at the June 24 or June 23 work session. 24 work session, and we can consider it, vote on it then.
Madam President, I have a couple comments also, please.
Sure.
I would like to make a motion that we remove the no parking signs on the Haven Lane, Timber Lane, Oak Lane, Meadow Lane, Greenwood Avenue streets in the borough. I believe it needs to be a revision to the ordinance that we already have on file. We brought this up a couple of months ago, and there was some question for it being tabled. I see no reason to keep it on the table. I'd like to make a motion that we remove them and make the situation a little bit more bearable for the residents of these streets and avenues.
Dave,
Yes.
before you make that motion, just out of question, for one for Kevin and then a substantive one for you. My understanding of the discussion of Haven. And I'm not saying one way or the other, I agree or disagree. I'm just saying, I thought we had discussed all the sign removal from Haven.
No, they're still up, Vince. And
No, but I mean, I don't,
the
Timber,
question-
Oak, and the other one were discussed. I believe only Haven was discussed.
Well,
And I think
it's
only the
also-
Haven. I know they're on there. I know they're on the other streets.
Yes.
And I'm not. That
You're
would
right, Vince. We never discussed
Yeah.
Timber or Oak. It was just Haven.
They've also, in speaking with the residents on the other streets, in all actuality, they were put up there when the issue came up years ago with the high school and the kids parking. However, that issue has more or less, for all intent purposes, been put to bed.
I realize that, but we sent letters. The reason why I'm bringing up the substantive end of it is we sent letters to only the Haven Lane property owners. We didn't send them to Timber, Oak, or the other ones escaped. Meadow.
Yeah.
And so I'm fully support the motion to amend we would have to publish it, so the resolution wouldn't do, we'd have to publish the ordinance change. I support the motion for Haven because we vetted it.
Yeah.
but we didn't vet by sending letters to the other 3 streets. So my question to you is, would you find it more appropriate to tackle Haven now, or to send the letters to the other residents like we did to Haven and then tackle all of them together?
Either way, I think the response is going to be the same. I think the residents will be in favor of it either way, Vince, as far as that goes. But I know the residents on Haven have inquired numerous times to me as far as when the signs are going to be coming down. And
So I personally, I don't know, you can, it's your motion, Dave, but I am in support of the ordinance change at the moment on Haven. Because I feel like it's not that I'm against or opposed to it on Meadow, Timber, and what's the other one? Oak. But I do feel that we owe it to the residents to give them the same courtesy on those 3 streets that we did on Haven regarding the letter.
Absolutely, Vince. I have absolutely no issue with that. I have no problem with that. We can either have the solicitor.
Want to change your motion, Dave, then to just a ordinance change on Haven?
Sure.
Well, Councilman Cruciani, just because I think you make a good point. Do we want to wait and just do them all together as one ordinance after we fielded responses from the other streets? Because there is a
That's probably
cost.
more cost effective.
There's a substantial cost associated with publishing the ordinance 3 different times.
Okay.
So
All right. Can we do this in a post haste manner rather than put it on the back burner where it would be forgotten about?
Well, we should, if Virginia gets the letters out now, we should be able to discuss it at the work session, since we're also leaving the meeting open for comments on the police contract. We're recessing the meeting for the police contract at the work session. We can also recess it for the ordinance vote on those 3 items, those 3 other streets. Now, Kevin, I don't want you to forget to address, or I don't want me to forget to bring it up to you to address. Their letters are going to get the residents are going to get those letters. There's 7 people on council. There's you, there's Virginia. At a work session, and there's Herman, there's Jen, that's 11. If we don't do it on YouTube at the next public meeting, we got to figure out whether or not how we want to deal with public comment. We're not going to be voting on the ordinance until we're in person, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But we're going to be voting on a resolution to the ordinance, I guess.
So what we would do is if I draft the ordinance, it will be on a couple tracks here. I'll start drafting the ordinance, and we can have it on the agenda for our work session, which is going to be a meeting on the 24th. At the same time, Virginia can pull and solicit comments from the residents on those 3 additional streets, and then the public comment on the ordinance could be, I don't know if hopefully by July we'll be meeting publicly. We'll be meeting physically together, and they will have the opportunity to voice their support or opposition to the ordinance at that time. If not,
that works.
If not, we will make sure that they submit their written comments on the ordinance, so that we have a good sense as to where the people are on that.
I know what.
I'm all in favor of that. I'm all in favor of that as long as it doesn't get put on the back burner.
Okay, I just had another thought on this too. If we went ahead and we did the ordinance for Haven and see how that works out, because if we do it for Timber, Oak, and Meadow, and then they start parking on Timberlake Meadow, then we're going to have to go and put the signs back up and so on.
I agree. I actually agree with you, Jerry. I think let's do a test case with Haven for a year.
Yeah.
And see how it works.
Okay.
I think that way we'll see if they start parking on Haven, then we're going to have to look at it again then.
So Dave, why don't you make your motion again? Just for Haven.
Okay, I will rescind my previous motion, And I will restate the motion that we remove the no parking signs on Haven Lane.
Because only Havens are getting replaced this year, correct? Timber Oak and Meadows aren't?
Virginia?
No,
I-
actually, all of them would eventually need to, but we can hold off a year on those three.
Okay, then let's do
Yeah.
that. Let's do that then. I second Dave's motion.
Okay.
Okay, on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Right.
Okay, figures have it.
Okay.
Madam President, I have one more comment that has been on my paper for months now that I haven't seemed to have been able to get off the ground. That's the office in the rear of the Lotney Hall. I would like to see that made into a fully functioning office. If nothing else, for the temporary usage of the EMA coordinator, so that he has a place to go and do his paperwork. And if we need to pick up a computer, get him a computer, get it all hooked up, get him a phone in there so that he can be connected to the world. And it's sitting there idle since Lori left. And
Right.
I mean, it's a viable piece of property that we have in the Borough building that should be put to use. I'd like to see it put to use
Okay.
for the EMA coordinator, or the EMA director, I'm sorry, I misstated his
Councilman
position.
Jenkins and Madam President, I agree with you on that, Dave. As long as we confirm with Chris Yarns, police chief, that now that items with the building appear to be at a standstill in terms of immediate major renovation or expansion, doesn't need that to stay compliant with some form of evidence storage, which the police chief had mentioned in the past.
Yeah, I don't think at the present time, I don't think they have anything stored up there, but it's not actually a secure enough area because it's got that glass window in it.
Okay.
Anybody with any kind of brain, if they wanted to get in there, all they'd have to do is break the glass to get in there. So it's not really a good storage area for our benefit for the police department. They would have to make it probably a lot more secure than what it is, Vince.
Okay.
Okay, and you know what? I think what we'll do is we'll have a meeting with Artie Franks and the mayor and set up exactly what direction we want to go with that, how to set it up and so on.
Well, Jerry, I made a motion and I'd like to see some headway done on it because it's a sin that the office sits there without being used or utilized. And
Dave, why don't we change it that we make that office the EMA office for June 1, 2020 to May 31, 2021 and see where it goes.
Excellent. I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Figures have it 6-0. Okay. So we are gonna, instead of adjourning, we're just gonna recess our meeting until the 24th of June, right?
Okay, I'll make that a motion that we recess our meeting from tonight, 6/3 until 6/24.
And
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for participating
Need a
tonight.
second?
all we need is a vote on that. You don't need a
Oh,
second.
New second, no vote or no
You don't
second?
need a second. All in favor of
Okay.
the adjourning.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Figures have it. Okay.
Okay, so
Okay,
everybody
but
needs
don't
to,
hang up anybody.
everybody's gonna
because-
stay, hold on, we're gonna break into executive session. I gotta turn off the YouTube.
All right, except for me, I get to go.